Trying to get all this.
I did not get an email. Huh.
Okay.
I saw your text where it said Google Doc and Drive is set. Huh. I'll have to
It's strange.
look later. Anyways, okay. Yeah. We'll figure it out. I'm sure there's just a simple solution.
Yeah, it's got to be something simple.
Hey, I remembered my hat this week. Okay, so
Awesome.
what has martial arts taught you? Okay, I've got a thread. I know I'm going to go on. Okay, I got it.
All right. Let's get this train rolling. Try to remember to sit up. All right, here we go. What dost thou wish? To continue to exist? Well, dost thou wish to have sensation, movement, growth, and then again to cease to grow, to use thy speech, to think? What is there of all these things which seems to thee worth desiring? But if it is easy to set little value on all these things, turn to that which remains, which is to follow reason and God. But it is inconsistent with honoring reason and God to be troubled, because by death a man will be deprived of other things. Friends, this is the Formless Podcast, episode number 70, with Tyler the Superhuman and me, Dustin.
Number 70.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Man,
We made it this far.
absolutely. It's going.
It's
it's
going.
going. You know, we've been on a roll, and that's it's good. It's really good.
Yeah, really good, and just shows that by us showing up and just doing these and having fun and consistently doing them, look, we're at episode 70 now.
Yeah. You know, they get a little bit better. At least I feel that way. You know, I feel a little more comfortable every time we get behind the mics, and it's just that repetition, that practice, that every day going through those little exercises and those motions. And like, I don't know about you, but I find myself thinking about like either what we said or something we can talk about, or ooh, this would be a really cool thing to mention. Or if you're anything like me, we have discussions at home, and my wife will be like, "Are you going to talk about this in the podcast?" And I'm, I don't know. Is this allowed?
Disclaimer.
Yeah. So, haven't gotten into too much trouble yet, knock on wood. But you know, there's always room for that.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, give it time. I'll get in trouble sooner or later.
Yeah, it's always like, you know, there's like this, there's kind of like this inside joke in screenwriting, you know, for writing movies. They say, be careful what you tell a screenwriter or what you talk about a screenwriter.
Oh, because it'll show up in a script somewhere.
It'll show up in a script or a movie or a show.
Yeah.
You know, screenwriters, writers were like sponges. I mean, you know that. And we soak up everything, and then we see or hear a good character or a good line, and you're
Or
like,
a joke.
or a joke,
yeah.
or
this is going to be excellent.
this will be great in that
Mm-hmm.
scene.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you incorporate it, and it's like, oh man, watch out. That's the joke, watch
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So it's the same thing for podcasts, like with your wife saying, is this going to end up on the podcast? Is this discussion?
She's going to school for psychology.
That's right.
And one of our friends that actually trains here is a psychologist, and he was like, "You're going to come to a point where somebody in your family is going to be like, don't analyze me." And he's like, "Your comeback to that is you can't afford me." So yeah, lessons learned. So yeah. But a little sidebar here. I feel like we've been improving.
Oh yeah.
We're getting more comfortable with each other, with the mic. Behind the mic talking. Have you learned anything from doing this?
Doing the podcast?
Yeah.
I think there's definitely been lots of stuff I've learned because this, I had never done a podcast before we
Me neither.
Right, before we did this one. And this was a whole new experience. Of course, I had the experience of being in movies and being in shows and doing theater. And so knowing how to talk and continue talking, that's something I've figured out over the years.
That's a muscle that's been exercised a bit.
Yeah. So, but with this one, I've noticed, we all of a sudden decided, hey, let's do the podcast.
Yeah.
And then it was just a matter of, getting together and recording one. And then looking where we started with the recording equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And then where we are now is totally upgraded everything.
Yeah.
With the equipment and with the guests that we've done and the subjects. And yeah, I think we started out strong and we've gotten even stronger. And so one thing that doing that has really revealed to me is showing up week after week or even a couple days in a row of recording a podcast, but showing up week after week after week, and then you kind of, here we are at episode 70.
Yeah.
Looking back at our first or second episodes was like, wow.
A miles difference. Yeah. It took a long time to get here, though. Like, one thing that I think that I've gathered from this is, like, I think about things differently.
Right.
Whereas something might be interesting and be like, ooh, that's interesting. Like, I'll dig a little deeper. Because there might be something more there,
Mm-hmm.
like my curiosity has been more. It's not like a flight of fancy. It's more like, ooh, what is this? Let's dive into this kind of thing, this topic or this subject or this whatever, whatever that thing is. Like, what more information can I get out of that?
Your overall.
Yeah, just
curiosity.
Overall. And then the other thing too is like probably more patience and resilience has grown.
Mm.
Whereas I'm not a very patient person. I don't think I could be patient and like if I know the goal, like if I have a like my black belt,
Mm-hmm.
I can be patient. I know that that's coming eventually, right? But like in broader sense or in like more abstract things, I'm not patient. Like I want that stuff yesterday. The light turned green. Let's go.
Why aren't we already driving?
Yeah. So that has definitely this has shown me some patience for sure, and more resilience. More like, okay, let's just see where this goes. Let's give it a little more effort. Give it a little more try.
Yeah.
And not give up so easily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that can really pay off in that this with doing podcasts, and then you have you and I, and you have the subject, and then other times you have you and I and a guest
Mm-hmm.
and the subject.
Yeah.
And so it's really it's a consistent activity that we're sitting down doing these podcasts and,
Mhm.
and talking, and but at the same time, it's like consistently different every time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a paradox.
Well, and the other thing too, like, I have the luxury of getting to listen to this like 2 or 3 times before it's a finished product.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I was being nervous about like, ooh, how is this going to be received?
Oh, okay.
And you don't get that feedback sometimes for months later, or even
True.
like in some cases a year later. So like our first probably 25 episodes, you might get some random feedback here and there, but nothing like right away. And so from my perspective, it was totally blind. Like other than a handful of people going, hey, I like this, or this could be better, or constructive criticisms, or whatever, and that those were fairly few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're really looking for that, like you're just kind of blind.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like when you're learning a new skill, like if you go learn how to drive, you hire an instructor, you take a driving school, and they're like, that feedback is right away.
Right away.
Brake. That feedback is right away. If you train martial arts, there's a coach or there's a peer or somebody to be like, hey, do it like this, or do 10 reps like this, or whatever.
Right.
You have this feedback, so you're constantly correcting. Whereas in this thing, we didn't really have anybody to do that for us. And so you're just kind of like, all right, here we go. Here it is. And you find out later, like, whoops, oh, okay, that needs to be adjusted, or this needs to be, don't do it like that.
Yeah.
So you learn everything kind of the hard way in a way, I guess.
Yeah, that to me that's a double-edged sword there, because if we had if we had the ultimate podcast mentor,
Mhm.
right, that came in and said, do this, do that, don't do that, avoid these guests, avoid this topic, just do what I say, and away you go. And away you go. I really stop and think about those things. I mean, do we really want to be like that? No.
And it would cease being what it is, I think.
Yeah.
It would be something else.
Yeah. And I think that having that of that unknowing.
You know what we are doing? We are not recording, man. I didn't hit the record button.
That's okay.
That is so.
At least you caught it now.
Yeah, because cheese and crow. Well, we have that recorded. That's good. Let's start fresh. What do you say?
Let's start fresh.
Holy cow!
That was good though. Stay on that.
Yeah, we'll get back. We'll get back to that. It's funny. If you listen to.
It's a
good like, why isn't the timer going? What a dope.
It's okay.
No, it's cool.
We're only 5 minutes in or so. Well, let me go to the bathroom since we got this time.
You want to hit that red button there and stop that?
Yeah.